Good evening. It's Thursday, August 22nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. We're going to call to order the City of Franklin Plan Commission meeting. Mr. Martinez, please take the roll.
Mayor Nelson,
Here.
Commissioner Shago,
Here.
Commissioner Haley.
Here.
Alderman Day is expected to arrive late. Commissioner Leon,
Here.
Commissioner Specht is excused.
Excellent. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item B, approval of the minutes. Approval of the regular meeting minutes from August 8th, 2024. Is there a motion?
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Mayor's going to vote. I'll tell you that. How many times should I say that tonight? Just right now, just say I'll be a voting member. I'll be a voting member due to the quorum issue for the remainder of the night. There, it said
Unless another member.
arrives, which should be Courtney Day in about 40 minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Going on to C, public hearing business matters, C1. Mr. Martinez?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. This is a project for a new car wash to be located at the intersection of Lovers Lane Road and Whitnall Edge Road, just across the Hiller 4 dealer. So typically in the ordinance, a special use is required for car washes in most zoning districts, and that's the case for the zoning district where the property is located, that is the B3 zoning district. And also with the special use permit application, there is a site plan for the proposed layout. Here's the site plan submitted by the applicant. So the main building for the car wash is located here, parallel to Lovers Lane. They have the entrance this way, parking lot here with vacuums, and also the trash enclosure and a pump house for the vacuums. With regards to the special use, the ordinance provide a list of standards that staff and the Plan Commission and Common Council review in order to grant or deny a special use permit. So the whole list is in the staff report. I will go to the highlights. First is the consistency with the comprehensive plan. So this site is designated as commercial, so the proposed car wash is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The second is the no undue adverse impact. There is a comment about noise.
Is that on? Okay.
The applicant submitted a noise study that includes an assessment of the existing conditions and also the predicted noise levels with the operation of this car wash. So according to the report, the ordinance limit is predicted to exceed only at the parking lot south property line. So here. And the sound study recommends the installation of an 8-foot sound barrier, something like a wall or a fence along this property line. However, the applicant is requesting to delay this requirement until after construction. And if the noise becomes an issue, then the applicant is willing to install the sound barrier at that time. Staff has no objections to the applicant request because kind of the affected area is a parking lot. The closest building is right here. But staff is recommending a condition that in the future a noise violation is found, then the owner will be required to install the sound barrier according to the specifications of the sound study. The other standard for special uses is the no destruction of significant features. So this site has no natural resources, with the exception of steep slopes, approximately in this area, but the applicant is not proposing to impact that area. So, so that's for the standards of special uses. Now for site plans, the ordinance also provides standards for review, and I will go to the highlights, and the full list is in the report. For dimensional requirements, the proposed building and structures comply with the setback requirements. The applicant also revised, based on staff comments, the location of the building to comply with the setback from Lover's Lane, that is 40 feet. With regard to the site intensity and capacity calculations, this site has a maximum capacity of 16,000 square feet, and the applicant is only proposing 5,400 square feet. Staff review for compliance with off-street parking requirements, require landscape, exterior lighting, and architectural standards. And as you can see in the packet, there are the comments, and the applicant has addressed the comments of the City Development Department. There is a utility easement here, so staff recommended a condition that the applicant is responsible for obtaining authorization from the easement holder, which is the Wisconsin Electric, for work within the utility easement. The trash dumpster is enclosed, so that's in compliance with the Unified Development Ordinance. And finally, the applicant submitted a geotechnical report, so that kind of to determine that the site is suitable for this use. And staff is recommending approval of the special use and site plan, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Going off of our list of how we do this, is the applicant here to state anything at this point before we go into the public hearing? Sure. If we could, we'll get you a chair and nice soothing music to relax us all. Right in the center or in the end, wherever you wish, sir. And I'm just going to ask you to state your name and business address for the record, please.
My name is Craig Wycheck. I was the Redmond Company.
We're going to see if that's on first, that microphone. Okay, just bring it close to you, sir, please.
Sorry, can you hear me now? Okay, there we go. My name is Craig Wycheck with the Redmond Company.
Your address of Redmond Company?
I don't know it offhand.
Yeah, we just prefer a business address is fine, just for the record, so we know,
Sure.
for Christmas card purposes.
Yeah, it's W22. W228 N745 West Mountain Drive, Waukesha, Wisconsin 53186.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome.
Thanks. Yeah, Regulo gave a really good summary of everything. I really don't have anything to add at this point. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, what we'll do is we'll be doing that after we'll open up the public hearing. Citizens can comment, and then that way you can talk to them after, then we'll talk to the members of the commission.
Okay.
Regular?
Notice of public hearing, City of Franklin Plan Commission, hearing date Thursday, August 22nd, 2024, at the Common Council Chambers of Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road, Franklin, Wisconsin. The applicant is Tsunami Express Car Wash, subject property located at 6449 South Whitnall Edge Road. The proposal is a special use permit request to allow for a car wash in the B3 Community Business District. Car wash businesses under Standard Industrial Classification SIC Title 7542 require a special use permit in the B3 zoning district per Unified Development Ordinance Table 15.30603. This public hearing is being held pursuant to the requirements and standards of Section 15.30701 General Standards for Special Uses and 15.90103 Applications for Special Use Permit of the City of Franklin Unified Development Ordinance. A map showing the property affected, full legal description, the application, and all supporting materials, and a special use resolution are available for review and may be obtained from the Department of City Development. The public is invited to attend the public hearing and to provide input. The proposed draft form resolution is subject to revisions following public hearing and the further consideration by the Plan Commission and the City of Franklin Common Council.
Thank you. So at this time, I will open up the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak on this matter, please approach the podium. State your name and address for the record, please. And we're going to verify that it's working. A little tap.
Hello. Is it working?
Come closer. Or just, yeah, no, it should be good. We only have one, don't break it.
I'm Tim Higgins from 6464 South Whitnall Ledge Road.
Good evening.
Looking at that proposed wall, it looks like that's going to funnel sound right into where I live. I live right off the map there. But it looks like to me it's going to stop sound. It'll just funnel it into my place
Am I accurate there?
farther up and to the right. It's kind of just out of view there.
I can
I'm
display-
dangerous with this. Regulus, if
No,
you do your thing.
I can display the sound study so we can see more details.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, here. Here. So these are the predicted sound levels by the sound study. So that's why this is the area that will have the higher sound level into an adjacent property. That's why the sound wall is recommended along this proper line. So the residential area is approximately, well, it's way down here, and you can see that it has lower predicted sound levels by the sound study.
What about cars revving their engines?
Sorry?
Cars being loud. Cars of various, modified exhausts, etc.
Well, yeah, the sound study is
They're
just
going to make more noise than what they're just saying there. I think it'll be a lot more noise.
it's about the proposed use, the car vacuuming, the operation of the car wash. That's
So what we'll do in the public hearing like this is you state your concerns, state it, and they can be addressed by either our planning staff or the vendor. So just, you have time to discuss what your concerns are. They will address them after you're done.
Will there be another traffic light there?
Well, you can say, I mean, if you want to just continue to, normally people state what they're happy or not happy about, and then at the end, when they're done, then everything gets answered at once. But if staff wishes to answer as they go, that's,
Okay, well, I wouldn't be
sir.
happy to see another traffic light there. And I wouldn't be happy to see more noise in the area. There's enough lawnmower noise and trucks backing up with the business next door beeping as they go in reverse, waking me up. And like I said, I think that wall might funnel the sound into where I live.
okay, thank you for your comments, sir.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, good evening, welcome.
Or good evening, excuse me. My name is Don Ware, 10200 West Parkhead Circle. I'm a couple blocks away on the east side of that car wash, but my concern is we have 6 car washes within a 2.5-mile radius already. We've got the Quick Trip, we've got Mr. Car Wash on 77th and Rawson, we've got Jets on Highway 100 in Forest Home, we have FSCW on Highway 100 in Copeland, Mr. Car Wash on 106th in Layton, and we have Andy's gas station on 108th in Layton. I firmly believe we do not need another car wash in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Susan Bartel, 6485 South Whitnall Ledge Road. I would concur with his concerns about noise. They can say, I heard the word predicted, but what will be, that is a residential area. We have 2 different condo complexes, 2 very large apartment complexes that all funnel their traffic through there. You have all that traffic, then you're going to have this. You have the traffic created by the Volkswagen dealership and their semis and so on, dealing with that. I think the idea that noise, it's only going to be limited here, I think that's naive. I think we have to be looking at the residential area. This is more residential, and I think it's totally being not looked at, that we've got all the people coming in that way. You're going to have a traffic nightmare, and we're going to pay the price. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Dana Gint, 9011 West Hawthorne Lane. I appreciate that there was actual sound study done before the development was discussed or approved or plans submitted. Obviously, I have a tremendous amount of experience with noise living almost a mile from the Rock Sports Complex. Last night, I could hear the baseball game at my house a mile away. So I think these people's concerns about noise is very justified. And for them to say it's going to be 50 decibels at the property line, I appreciate that it's in their application numerous times, that it literally states that they will follow the 50 decibels at the property line. And I agree with the statements that putting a barrier wall could funnel it in directions that are not what you're intending, because obviously I live, as I said, almost a mile from the Rock Sports Complex, and I can hear word for word what's going on at the Rock Sports Complex. So the topography, building, structures, wind, all impact noise, and this all needs to be evaluated before this is constructed. I appreciate that there's a sound barrier proposed, and I think that's a good start, and obviously that's something that should be done at the Rock Sports Complex. In the February 9th, 2023 meeting, you guys discussed the berm and that buffer yards. This is from the UDO. It says the UDO section 15.5-0301D states that buffer yards shall be required to separate different zoning districts from each other. Buffer yards function to eliminate or minimize potential nuisances such as dirt, litter, noise, glare of lights, signs, and unsightly buildings or parking areas, and to provide spacing to reduce adverse impacts of noise, odor, and danger from fires or explosions. So clearly, I think that there needs to be more evaluation done to protect the neighbors, because that was not done for the Rock Sports Complex, and it still does need to be done. It is a public nuisance for 6 months of the year on nearly a daily basis. And I appreciate that things have been done, like the speakers have been turned away that were pointed at our neighborhoods are actually turned into the stadium now, but I'm just echoing concerns regarding noise for the other residents in the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ginn. Anyone else wishing to speak on this?
Todd Stuckert, 6493 Whitnall Edge Road. I'm probably about maybe 3 houses away from there. Is the driveway going to be on Whitnall, or is it going to be on Highway 100?
Whitnall.
Oh, just what we need. My feeling is, if you have the driveway on Whitnall, and there's a big snowstorm, you know how after snowstorms, traffic, at these car washes back up. How are we supposed to get through if that happens? It's a single lane road. I mean, that's my theory. Was there a traffic study? Anybody do that? That's my concern. And I just feel that without seeing like where all driveways are going and stuff, I just feel like I don't know what's going to go on. And I think traffic is just going to be unbearable. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak on this topic at this time? Going once? Okay, we'll close this we'll close this at the public hearing at 6:19 p.m. And now we'll answer questions. I know I've got a few. Mr. Leon, would you like to stop?
Thank you, Mayor. The second speaker came up, did leave out one. There's a other car wash coming on Rawson Avenue, just west of 51st Street. So just as a point there.
Jilly's.
Jilly's is coming, so.
Jilly's.
That was within the radius. I can't see the gentleman now, but there is one more coming. It's already under construction. Question to the applicant to address the first speaker's questions about the possibility of echoing or funneling of the noise to that neighborhood. Can you speak to the materials that a potential wall would be made from, whether or not those would be designed to absorb sound so that they would not reflect it or funnel it, or other mitigating features that you could put in, like shrubbery or anything else that could potentially allay the concerns of those who could be adversely affected with sound echoing or funneling. So, and again, just want to clarify, this is a potential wall. It's going to be possibly not have that requirement unless there are complaints about the noise. But please, sir.
Yeah, so in the sound report, there is a section in there that outlines what the wall will be. Like Regulo said, I believe it's an 8-foot wall. It would go generally along that whole parking lot side on the south. There's an STC requirement, which is the absorptive qualities of it. I am not a sound expert, but it is meant to absorb a good chunk of the noise. It can be made out of wood or a similar material. It's got to be at least an inch thick, no gaps in between, so that it does catch the sound and not just let it pass right through. Shrubs, trees, that really doesn't absorb too much noise and make too much of a difference. The other things you can do is when the blowers are on in the car wash, you can close the doors at the exit side, which is where the blowers are. So that would mitigate as much noise as possible through that. And then the sound wall in addition would help mitigate the noise as well.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, go ahead, please.
Just want to add to that, in the sound study, page 11, it goes to all the details
Sure.
of the proposed sound barriers, go to materials, thickness, acoustical rating, and all that specifications. And I would like to say that in my 5 years working here, this is the most thorough and detailed sound study I have ever seen.
Yes, thank you for that. I just wanted to get it on the record that basically the materials are designed to absorb sound versus echo it or funnel it in a different direction. Separately, there was a question about a traffic study, and just wanted to address any concerns. This is probably more for staff, about the impact of traffic in that area, specifically when there is a weather event that could make an already bottleneck area even worse.
Yeah, the traffic study, it's an optional requirement. The Plan Commission or staff may require to the applicant submit a sound study. Since this site already has 2 existing driveways, and actually the applicant is removing 1 driveway, staff didn't see the need to request the traffic study. However, the Plan Commission may request that. And also, as I explained on the site intensity and capacity calculations, the applicant is proposing just to develop about 1/3 of the capacity of this site. So that's why staff didn't see the need to require for the traffic study.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martinez. I would like to get some input from engineering, and whether it's a full traffic study or something like that, so that we had a better sense of what impact this could have on traffic flow. So with that, thank you.
Anyone else before I go? At this point? No? Okay, so one of the points brought up was, it's a very good point. I go to the Hell's Corners Car Wash I've had a season or an annual pass since 1993. And I experienced what the gentleman said about when, after a snow event or whatever, I mean, that it lines up. And it lines up past Taco Bell, it lines up past the little car lot, and it's on that frontage road, sometimes all the way to Grange. They do a lot of numbers. Now, And I guess my question is just to echo the gentleman, could you, somebody give the pointer, the gentleman to use the pointer, or can you point out the inlet? And if there's a basic, how many cars could you literally fit in that travel, that inlet lane? And
Sure.
You can use that. Just don't take it with you.
All right, let's see if I can get this. Okay, so the queuing, the pay booth is right at this line up here. All these dash boxes represent cars. So we're showing 15 cars right now that are queuing up. And then they could potentially queue all the way down to here as well. Ball parking, 1, 2. I mean, we can do some measurements there to see how many cars can fit, but I would ballpark 25 to 30 cars can be stacked here without causing any backups into Whitnall Edge Road. And then one other point that Tsunami Car Wash, they try to get cars in and out very quickly. They're curb to curb time, so when someone comes in versus out through the wash through queuing is about 4 minutes. So it does push cars through pretty quickly to mitigate queuing as much as possible.
So that was my next question. I'm glad you hit it. What's the average time it takes a car to go in and out is 4 minutes.
Yep, that's from the time entering.
Full service, exterior only.
I don't know the specifics, but
I mean, full service takes longer. I have a full service and it's,
Sure.
vacuuming and the windows inside and out. I mean, it takes longer than
sure.
that, but,
And of course, if they want to use the vacuums, that would be a longer time to exit, but it wouldn't affect queuing. Because once they go through the car wash, then they can take a left-hand turn into the middle parking area, which is where the vacuums are. So then you have cars that can use those services for 5-10 minutes, however long they need.
okay, thank you. Regular, anything on that? How many motions are on this?
One motion for the special use and another motion
Mr.
for the site plan.
Hold on, Mr. Leone?
So before we get to the motions on the item, I would like to propose a motion that we table this item to allow staff to determine if further analysis is needed on the traffic impact, whether full traffic study is required or input from engineering staff. So I understand that might not be what the applicant is looking for, but I do think that there's validity in that right now we have ample car wash options in the area, but typically when an applicant comes in, there is demand for more, right? They've done their analysis on the area and they see a need for more. But I do think it's fair to get further study into how adverse of an impact it would have to add this to the area. So I will motion that we table this item, get further impact from engineering staff, and determine if a full sound study is needed.
Is there a second? Oh, Mr. City Attorney, if you could turn his button on regular.
Just since there's a bare quorum at this meeting, any actions by the Plan Commission require 4 votes.
Okay, we've got a motion. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
So we've got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Right,
Thank you.
gonna be on hold, so they'll contact you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is your motion for the special use and the site plan?
Correct. Yeah, it applies to both. I don't know if we need to vote on it again, but
No, we'll say it's one singular motion for both. Okay.
Thank
you. C2, Mr. Martinez.
Thank you. This is an application for a residential area exception to allow for a detached garage that is exceeding the maximum area that is allowed by the ordinance, which is 720 square feet, and the applicant is proposing 784 square feet. This project is associated with a variance, but the variance is not in the agenda. The variance will be presented before the Board of Zoning and Building Appeals. And the area exception that is presented before you tonight, it's for a recommendation, and the final decision is up to the BCBA. This is the proposed detached garage. The variance is because it's closer to the road than the principal building, which is the house. And as I mentioned, the area exception is for a larger structures. This is the elevations of the proposed garage. It complies with the maximum height in this zoning district. And the proposed location will be approximately here. And this is the house and the existing garage. Typically for area exceptions, we do calculations because the ordinance establishes that the maximum that can be approved with an area exception is 20%, either increase or decrease, and these requests falls within that approvable for area exception. So staff is recommending approval of the area exception request. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is the applicant here? If you wouldn't mind, just come up here, one of you, in case there are questions after the public hearing. Good evening and welcome. Thank you. If you could just state your name and address for the record, please.
Anthony Scheffner, 10405 West Ryan Road.
Thank you, Mr. Scheffner. Okay, anything to add to that? You don't have to, but I think it was covered pretty well.
That's about it. I want to build a garage.
It's the simplest form, I know, and there's
That's
just, believe it or not, everybody in here wants to build a garage tonight. All right, Mr. Martinez, you want to read the notice?
Notice of public hearing, City of Franklin Plan Commission, Thursday, August 22nd, 2024, at the Common Council Chambers of Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road, Franklin, Wisconsin. Applicant is Anthony Scheffner and Roseanne Efta. Subject property is located at 10405 West Ryan Road. The proposal is an area exception to allow for a garage size of 784 square feet, exceeding the maximum size for accessory structures of 720 square feet set forth in UDO Section 15.30801C1. This public hearing is being held pursuant to the requirements of Section 6223(7)E of the Wisconsin Statutes and Division 1510-0206 of the City of Franklin Unified Development Ordinance. The legal description of the subject property and area exception requests are available and open for inspection by the public in the office of the Department of City Development.
Thank you. All right, open up the public hearing at this time. Anybody wishing to speak on this matter, please approach the podium. State your name and address for the record. It's open. Going once. Seeing no one. At 6:33 p.m., we'll close the public hearing. Open questions? No questions? All right, is there, oh, Mr. Haley.
Just one. I don't have any issues with the approval for the area exception. I'm wondering about the location. It looks to me, from what I can see, that the proposed garage could be slid to the south behind the front line of the house and still fit in there. It's showing as a 28 by 28 and your building is there. So is there some reason you're not just sliding it all back so that it's alongside the house and not interfering with the existing driveway?
The pitch of the hill, as you come closer to the existing garage, is so great that the amount of fill, it'd just be ridiculous. And I have the existing turnaround where there's a lot of fill there already. So to use that is to my advantage. It's just
Okay, it's not practical.
too costly. It's just not practical to put it
Additional
closer.
fill would need to be brought in for the front of the garage, if you will.
The whole back of the garage, opposite the driveway entrance, going towards the west.
Yeah, I don't have a grading plan in front of me, but. Yeah, I see a picture. I was looking for an answer there.
Yeah.
That's really what I think the city is looking for, is for that to be further back behind the front line of the house, the setback line.
Well, that's
Mr.
why.
Martinez?
Yeah, that's why this project has a separate variance application for the location with other standards. However, the variance doesn't go before the Plan Commission; it goes only directly to the Board of Zoning and Building Appeals.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with the approval for the area
Absolutely.
exception.
Mr. Martinez, would you please read the motion?
A motion to recommend approval of an area exception to allow for a garage size of 784 square feet, exceeding the maximum size for accessory structures of 720 square feet set forth in UDO section 15.30801C1 for property located at 10405 West Ryan Road.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Mr. Martinez, anything else on this one? Thank you very much.
Can I start building tomorrow?
I would do it tonight.
Today?
Still nice out.
I'm on my way.
Start swinging that hammer before we change our minds.
You got it. Thank you.
Sir, for the record, the Board of Zoning Building Appeals meeting is on September 18th.
Wow, look at you.
Right, Mr. Hamel?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Overachiever. All right, point 3, Ms. X. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. I am actually going to canvass C3 and C4 together, as they are for a total project development, but there are separate approvals required. And so C3, the item before you, and is for a special use on a single lot. And then C4 is for a rezoning, a comprehensive master plan amendment and rezoning of 3 lots immediately to the south of that property. So the applicant is Communities of Crocus. They're seeking approval for a special use for the first parcel to allow for development of supportive housing for individuals with developmental disabilities, and also for community services and a community building for that. So the property is currently zoned B4, and it does allow for those uses for special use. Residential development is allowed, but I want to just kind of clarify what is the total discussion, and also the applicant will have a broader picture of what they're actually proposing in terms of who their future residents will be, what the architectural design will look like, et cetera. So the existing condition is these are 4 vacant lots. There are 2 created stormwater wetlands that were built on the lot with approval from the planning department as a project with the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewage District. So these are essentially big rain gardens and an existing stormwater pond. There is a residential neighborhood to the north and to the west, and also across the street to the east is the Statesman apartment building. And then these lands are currently owned by Northwestern Mutual Life. So I'll touch on a little bit of how that affects the approval process in a moment. But this is the total development area over the long run. Lot A is what's proposed for the special use, the care home and services, and then tonight's discussion will also cover Lot B, where there is a proposal for future apartments, which would be allowed under B4 zoning. Lot C, which would include townhome duplexes, and then Lot D, which would potentially. So all of these lots also have other kinds of services in them potentially. So as their conceptual site plans will show, there are things like a farmer's market space produced in the future, but the overall goal is residential development. So the total acreage that we're talking about is about 42 acres. And this is the conceptual site plan, which their team can get into at a little greater depth. But the special use is for four unit homes on the north portion of the northernmost lot, a resident facility. So this would be a facility for the folks that are going to be living in these homes. And then an administrative building with other community services. And this could potentially have office for other nonprofit organizations. And so the recommendation related to the special use is that it allow for the density for a total of 16 units, that it allow for that residential density, and also that it allow for these types of office medical, educational, nonprofit, et cetera, types of uses. Uses that are particularly allowed under B4 zoning, but since they're the special use for you and the property is going to have this particular type of development, a narrower scope. Other uses under a B4 zoning would have to go through a zoning compliance. So also so it's 4 4-unit residential buildings with a total of 16 dwelling units. I do want to note, you can kind of see the overall density of this development is actually low. So the overall density that would be allowed under B4 zoning is 8 units per acre. The northernmost development with these 16 total units would have a total gross density over the whole site of 0.86. So normally you would allow 8 units, where it's less than 1 per acre with this significant area that's here. So I should also note the back of the lot. This is a tributary of the Root River, so there are a significant amount of natural resources on the site. The applicant is not proposing to disturb any of the floodplain. We will require a site plan review for the actual development of the lots, but they wanted to get through the use approvals before going on to take on that task. So the elements at the center of Crocus Community Center include a hub facility. There are generally permitted uses in B4, so medical offices, home health care services, vocational, et cetera. All of those are currently permitted uses. So some of these facilities could be developed for the plan only, but the residential component is specifically what requires the special use approval. So moving on to the comprehensive master plan amendment and rezoning. The 3 lots to the south are currently zoned R6 and OL. There's an office overlay. So what that means is this is our highest density residential single family development category, and an office overlay which only allows for office uses. This was rezoned previously for the Northwestern Mutual development. So that allowance was kind of in accommodation of this. And I will note that when you look at the comprehensive master plan, the future land use, so these sites have a future land use of office. In order to rezone to B4, they would have to change that future land use to mixed use. So the current future land use of the adjoining lots here and the lot under development for the special use is mixed use. And it seems that it would be appropriate to change the future land use to mixed use to allow for that then rezoning to be full. So as you can see, the northernmost lot is mixed use, the Statesman development is mixed use, and that is a significant number of parcels around here. And in fact, if you zoom out a little bit farther, this is the only area of the city where there's an office land use. Office uses are allowed throughout the city in all commercial zoning districts, and so it seems unnecessary to require such a limited scope of future uses, and B4 zoning would allow for more types of uses in future. Thinking about these lands, while we're not currently looking at the overall, the whole city, that area mixed use would still accomplish something. So the rezoning is because they will need to rezone into B4 to allow for the residential and medical facility uses on the other lots. I do want to note that the city has a relatively limited area that's zoned to allow for multifamily development. So it is something to consider that it is a change of use for the area, but it is also something that I think is constructive for the city to undertake. Remove lands from potential multifamily development recently, and this would be kind of adding back. So overall, we are recommending approval of these applications. The applicants are here to discuss the overall design and uses there, and then I am happy to answer and just do the public hearings one at a time.
Right, right. Yeah, we'll do the public hearings one at a time, and the motions will be independent of each other. Well done, Ms. X. This is, we're getting, this is good. So if we could have, at this time, I know we're a little, maybe one person or two up here, if you want to do the team. Good evening and welcome, and if you could just, actually, you can use that other, there you go. And just state your name and business address for the record, please.
My name is Kevin Alabach. I'm with HGA Architects, and we are located at 333 East Erie Street in Milwaukee.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Amy Hampton.
You gotta bring it like right up to you, it's like karaoke, just.
Good evening. Oh, wait. Good evening. My name is Amy Hansel, and the business address for Communities of Crocus is P.O. Box 580165 in Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin, 53158.
Thank you. So you heard an overview, and if there's things you'd like to add to this before we open up to the public hearing, you're welcome to do it now, and then there'll be, if there are questions, they'll be taken by staff and yourself, and then they can be addressed after people are done talking.
Thank you. I thought I'd give just a quick 5-minute overview of the project, 2-minute overview of the project. So
I was just saying peace.
Oh.
You got all night. Go ahead.
So just wanted to reinforce a little bit of background on Community of Crocus and again, what the goal of this neighborhood development is. So Communities of Crocus is a 503 nonprofit, and they're really focused on trying to provide supportive housing, different types of housing for adults, so 18 and over, with autism or similar intellectual or disabilities. So the 4 houses at the top, again, are contain 4 one-bedroom apartments. So these are for adults with autism at a higher level. These are not adults that will be driving. They'll have their staff, and this is 4 units surrounded by a common area. So each of the apartments has its own kitchen, its own bathroom, its own living space and bedroom. And there's 4 of those, and then there's some supportive spaces, including a community kitchen, game area, there's a nurse's station, and other office spaces for staff in the center. And again, that's repeated 4 times. The center building is where those adults would go to spend their day. So it has things like recreation areas. There's a jungle gym, a track for tricycles, a therapy pool, and then life skills training, therapy, art, music, and regular therapy, as well as areas for leisure. So during the day, the adults, the 16 adults in the houses would be spending their time at the center. You can see the blue building is the supportive hub. Again, that's where Communities of Crocus's offices would be, as well as other partners and a resource center for the entire community. So providing information, books, videos about autism, and helping, again, caretakers learn more and help them with their adults with autism. You can see the site really, our development is focused on the third of the property along 31st Street. So that, as was mentioned, the back area.
The pointer at this point.
So again, we're on this front 13 acres is where the construction will be going. The back 2/3 of the site, again, will be left untouched. We're not proposing any construction back in that zone. Wanted to highlight just the phasing and the construction. I'll show just a couple of images in a moment, but These buildings are all one story. There is a potential for putting a basement below the center building for mechanical and storage. We're doing some pricing on that right now, but one-story homes, a one-story center, and a one-story supportive hub. So we're trying to keep those buildings low and tied into nature. This area, the B4 top north parcel, is what would be built in phase one, with that entry directly opposite the Statesman, and then a shared parking facility of about 75 cars, including some staff areas that would support the hub and the center. That's phase one. Phase two is proposed to be a 34 to 36 unit apartment building. These are for more high functioning adults with autism. So they may have jobs, they may have cars and drive and be members of the community. This building will be 2 stories tall, and again, we're doing some exploration on parking, whether we would put that underground or surface. So still working through that, but the building, apartment building itself would be 2-story. There is a small pavilion building, again, surrounded by a lawn area, envisioned as a place where people could gather for a birthday party, for a music event, or again, as was mentioned, an ideal use of it, we think, would be as a farmer's market that could be shared by the community. And then the last phase down here is 8 townhomes and 6 or 7 duplex homes. These are really meant for the caregivers. So the parents, the caregivers of the adults with autism can live in the same community and offer their support and again, be there as another resource for the adults with autism. Just went through the phasing, but I wanted to share again, this is a view of the care home. So these are a combination of proposing brick as well as the blue, which is siding, but again, trying to be a mid-century modern feel, lots of glass, low to the ground, and again, trying to connect those spaces with the beautiful site, with the nature that's there. Just the back view of the care homes. And then this is the center, again, a 1-story building, lots of glass. This is where the recreation and life skills are. And the back of that. And then this is the supportive hub where the offices are, again, a 1-story building, brick and siding, again, trying to really unify and make the community feel united and one. I think I'll pause there. And Amy, is there anything else you wanted to add?
No.
Okay, so at this time, we'll make the public hearing notice, please, Marion.
Thank you, Mayor. And this is for special use. So notice of public hearing at the City of Franklin Plan Commission, Thursday, August 22nd, 2024. Common Council chambers are all. Applicant is Amy Hansel of Communities of Crocus, Northwestern Mutual Life property owner. The subject property is addressed at 0 South 31st Street, Zone B4 South, 27th Street, and Floodway District, identified with tax key 7619. Application for a special use for Communities of Crocus to allow for development of up to 4 4-unit residential 16-unit services for autistic adults and related community buildings. Center community building will provide health and resources for residential focus. A building will include general office space, life skills, and caregiving. Public hearing is being held for permits general special uses, 50-3 non-resident 15-903 City of Franklin Unified Development Ordinance, National Property, full legal description, The application and all supporting materials are available for review and may be obtained from City Council by way of request development at all during normal business hours. A copy of the proposed special use in draft form is available in the public at the office. All during normal business hours. The public is invited to attend the public hearing. The draft resolution is subject to revisions of the public hearing and further.
Thank you. So at this time, we'll open up the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter, which is C3, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and speak clearly into the microphone.
Steve St. Louis, 3110 West Minnesota Avenue.
We're good.
The property to where they want to build these group homes, years and years ago, it was drain tiled.
Can we go back to that first one where?
Yeah,
it's got the
if you can
breakdown?
do an overlay where the ponds and everything are, I'll give you an idea what happens in our neighborhood when it rains a lot. So that where the group homes are going, that property was drain tiled and was farmed by one of our neighbors who has now passed on. And this came up years ago because they wanted to put some condos in there. And when he brought that up to him, when it was zoned residential, they backed off right away. At that time, it wasn't landfilled. That property was landfilled around 2006. When Northwestern came in, they took a lot of their fill and put it up on that property to fill it in because they wanted to develop it, and that's why it's zoned, the office overlay. About 3 years ago, they put those ponds in, the 2 ponds, not the blue one, but the other ones. Since they put those in with no development there, parking not for 79 cars or 75 like they're talking, they filled that pond 2 or 3 times already, to the brim. My neighbors right on Minnesota Avenue that border that, where that pond is, the last couple houses down there, especially the last house, he's been like freaking out when it rains. I mean, it fills right to the top. They had MMSD out there, I think this last year or whatever. And when they originally said this, just looking at this tonight, when they said there's going to be that much parking on that parcel, I think you're going to flood out houses on Minnesota Avenue. It's going to come down naturally, and it's going to, because the creek is right, goes through there, and those go into the creek. That's just my comment. I have some really concerns about that. I mean, if they swapped all that and they were going to put the residential homes up there, probably not as much impact, as far as the parking and the runoff. I just want to, that's my concerns about that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good evening, sir.
Terrence Kiefer, 7392 South 37th Place. About 20 years ago, I attended a meeting here with the previous mayor, and he stated there are way too many apartment buildings going up, and I'm going to cut down on them. Now, if you drive around Franklin nowadays, you see nothing but apartment buildings, condos, or some other type of building. Now, the land that you are proposed to build on is home to a lot of animals, including deer. Now, I understand that Whitnall rejected this proposal, and I understand that this Common Council rejected it a while back too. I'd like to know why you changed your mind all of a sudden. And I oppose this very deeply.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak? Good evening, ma'am. Welcome.
Colleen Abel, 3027 West Minnesota. I love this idea. Love this idea. I love this idea. I think there is a very big shortage in housing for adults with special needs. So I think it's great. I am concerned about runoff. If I worked at Northwestern Mutual and I would walk down 31st, in the winter you couldn't walk because it would ice, the sidewalk would ice all the time because the runoff would come down the hill from Statesman. It would come down that way. If you go when we get any kind of snow and it starts melting right on the corner of 31st in Minnesota, it'll ice there all the time. It'll come from my neighbor across the street and there's ice. They'll come out and plow the ice because it's so bad there. So there is a big problem with runoff coming down towards that. So if that can be addressed, that would be great. But that would be a concern that I didn't think about until just now tonight. But I'm totally in favor of it, figuring out a way to be able to take care of the runoff so nobody is getting flooded or that they're not having problems themselves. That would be wonderful.
Thank you, ma'am.
Dana Gint, 9011 West Hawthorne Lane. Could we go back to the previous picture that has the ponds, the existing ponds on it, please? Is that possible? I think it's the picture right before this, or maybe it's after.
Oh, this is the only two slides I have are these two.
Okay. And maybe it's in the packet, that there's a drawing that shows that there's existing retention ponds or stormwater basins on the property. And from experience from going to meetings, like when Northwestern Mutual was probably developed, that was probably part of their mitigation, that they had to put those retention ponds in and plant mitigation for trees and things like that. So has that been had some sort of analysis been done that development was required to create these stormwater ponds, and now you're pretty much removing them, which will obviously impact what's going on here. I can see that there's one pond proposed, but I believe the previous drawings showed there was like 2 or 3 existing ponds. And then has MMSD, since it was stated in the packet that MMSD, those ponds were related to the MMSD project, have they been contacted regarding how this impacts what they were originally designed for? Also, I think it's on, I'm not sure what page it is. It's with your packet with the pictures on it. It says the wetlands and woodlands were part of the MSD district to increase stormwater capture in the area. So I think that there needs to be more analysis done on the whole stormwater issue for this area. Obviously, you have the Red River tributary, and there needs to be conservation easements and buffers and things like that. So I think there needs to be more analysis for the stormwater issues for this development. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this at this point? A couple people. Holy moly.
Steve Fighter, 7250 and 7280 South 35th. My question is these are autistic adults. Now, those ponds do not have any borders around them, and what if they fall in those ponds? Are they going to be supervised continuously? And I would hate to see borders put up around those ponds because it's a natural area. That's one question. Second question is there ever going to be construction on the west 2/3 of that property? That's all natural lands. There really should not be any construction on that side, especially the woods. And a corollary to that question is are they going to cut down any trees on either side of the east branch of the Root River? Those trees have been there for hundreds of years and they should not be cut down, as far as I'm concerned. One more point is, I've been told that the east branch of the Root River is a secondary environmental corridor. Thus, a conservation easement needs to be applied to this project, and it also needs to be added to the resolution. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Mary Fitzgerald, 7391 South 37th Place. I also would like to reiterate what this man said. I want to know if this is always going to be open wetland now, preserved, or if their plan is 5 years from now, this is working, we want to build all the way. to 35th. Because again, that is a wetland. It should stay a wetland. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
John Kelly, 7444 South 35th Street. My son has developmental disabilities. I understand these people need to be in the community. I'm all for it. My only concern is runoff in the water situation. I'll say that I run 3 sump pumps in my basement, and I keep 2 spares. I really have deep concerns about how much water will come off those properties.
Thank you, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Karen Jeffries, 7351 South 35th. My concern is something that this individual brought up earlier, that this is owned by Northwestern Mutual, but are we able to change the zoning issues when the owner is not present or has not asked for such a change? Is that something that we've done in the past in Franklin, or do you have domain? I'm just curious about that. How can we move forward with changes in the zoning when the owner is not present or maybe hasn't even asked for these changes? In other words, can an individual, I may want to do changes to my neighbor's yard, I can just come here and ask for changes? I'm just curious about how that
Sure.
works. If anyone can address that.
Yeah, they will.
Thank you.
Staff will take care of that. Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wishing to speak? Going once. It is 7:06 PM. We are closing the public hearing, and now we're going to, if staff would like to, and you also decide how to answer some of these questions, and then we've got questions and.
I will take the lead on that, Mayor.
Thank
so
you.
I want to respond to the question we had just now, which is that it is not, we request to come without the knowledge of the property owner. We require property owners on, so they have to be aware of and so that's our, all applications, zoning, etc. So while the applicant hasn't taken the property, depending on the application type, it's those 2 people or those parties in the and we would not property. That is number one. Then there was a lot of discussion about a couple of different issues on the site, and I want to first of all make clear that while
Hold on one second. It is 7:08 PM. Alderwoman Courtney Day is now present. Go ahead, Marion.
Yep. So I want to make clear the discussion this evening is of a conceptual site plan, and the comments about drainage, natural resources, etc., are well taken, and it is appropriate to some extent to include that discussion in the special use resolution. However, we're not looking at final site plan for this site. So a future step in this development process will require what's called a site plan approval. That is a review by this commission, by planning staff, and then by this commission. And at that time, we would evaluate things like the full location of natural resources on the property, the condition of stormwater, and the applicants would be required to submit a complete stormwater plan, evaluating how they're going to be changing the total impervious surface on the lot, how they are going to be affecting drainage on the lot, etc. I know the engineering department has some familiarity with the drainage. Generally, unfortunately, I'm not here to comment on that overall, but it is also something that must be addressed before any structure can be built. So with regards to the natural resources, again, the comments about natural resources on the site are well taken. Actually, part of the attraction of the lot for the applicants is that it's very pretty, that there are lots of natural resources there, that it provides a reasonable planning is recommending approval is created by that. So the natural resource, can I have a mouse, please?
Sorry.
So just to canvas, and I think most folks in the room are just as familiar or more familiar with the site, but from a planner's point of view, this is, as I mentioned earlier, a tributary of the Root River. There is adjacent floodplain, and floodplain has significant requirements related to development. Applicants are not proposing to impact it at any phase of the development that's for you, and probably would not recommend that they do so except for possible recreational uses. The two constructed wetlands on the site of MMSD project that was referred to are under 10-year easement. So MMSD, when they created them, did put in place that condition site so that the property is going those for a period of 10 years. So at that time, they would then reevaluate the status of them, but applicants do have to account for water on the site. The existing stormwater pond, but it would not directly affect those and could not be altered without consent and collaboration. So, what are some wetlands? Someone did note that there's an environmental corridor here. So, just so folks understand what we would be looking at, Franklin protects natural resources. We require what's called a natural resource plan, and then conservation easements over natural resources that are protected by our development ordinance. Up to a certain point, we don't want to preclude development, but we do require conservation. So applicants there's 100% protection for water resource that includes wetlands, although not the constructed wetlands. They're under separate easements. And then we also have protection standards, slopes, floodplain, trees, etc. And so applicants would be allowed to impact trees up to a point because of the site really part of their design, except for the southern portion of the site. But it's likely that it would stay within allowable tree removal. That would be part of a site plan removal. So just in terms of how the special use can for that, you could have some discussion about working with MSD for the landscaping or some other requirement, but I will definitely say just fine stormwater is a requirement. Like water, wildlife, water basins.
Animal.
Yeah, and so our ordinances don't necessarily directly protect animals or habitat, but the conservation that it would probably go like this. And this would then remain in a preserved state. I think it might be appropriate to allow for some point, especially if there's a park not far from but the development. Yeah, with regards to the discussion of the appropriateness of development or not, I do think it's important and that Franklin we just published our housing study and we're the current development. So it is something that I think we need to look more carefully at as a community going forward, but this application overall meets density and has been very thoughtful. I also should note that they've worked very diligently with so that the application met all the requirements, which is why there were not they had already all of that. So of course the public input is really valuable, and I will make sure that it. But if the commission has other questions.
Mr. Leone.
So I have one question, and then I want to defer to Commissioner Haley, because this is definitely much more in his wheelhouse. But Ms. X, during your initial presentation, I think I didn't hear you correctly as housing applies to the comprehensive master plan. Did you say it was destructive or constructive to the housing. I think you said constructive. I just wanted to clarify for okay. Thank you for that. And I will have more questions, but I'm sure Commissioner Haley has some on this.
Mr. Haley. Well,
You didn't answer my question.
I'll,
Why did you change your mind on this project?
so what we'll do is I'll address that one because we didn't, but let's get the other questions first. Mr. Haley?
Thank you. Well, let me start by saying I think this is a great project. This is a great, as you're calling it, a community, a good addition to Franklin, and I'm glad to see that we're pursuing this type of thing. That said, I guess the first question I have, and I'm not sure who's going to answer it for me, will this development be paying property taxes to the city of Franklin? They're a 501c3.
Please, jump in.
We would be looking to apply for property exemption on the property.
I suspected as much. That concerns me greatly. Tax base is very important to this city. This is a ideal development for something else. Phase 2 of Statesman's Way. Don't know. Again, your project is great, but occupying this site comes at an extreme cost to the city. This is a high-value piece of property, I would suggest, and I'll encourage everybody to think about that. And, you know, we've got enough tax exempt. We're 13 churches in Franklin, and I'm not complaining, but somebody's got to pay the tax base. You know that. Okay. That said, then my questions and comments are going to go to the site. We've all talked about the natural resources on it. There are a lot, and I fully understand that if this moves forward, we'll be having to approve the site plan. That said, in looking at it and studying it and knowing what I know, I'm not convinced that this is all viable. First question, okay, so we've got wetlands structures that were partially funded by the city, I believe, and MMSD. And if I'm not mistaken, there was some Root Pike Wind money in there. I believe so. So there's 3 people with money in the pot. My understanding is that MMSD and Root Pike Wind require conservation easements be recorded on properties that they are funding. You said it earlier, 10 years only. I didn't realize that, but that's still 10 years. No impacts. I mean, that's what a conservation easement says, no crossing the line. It's independent of our natural resource protection standards, which are good. And that's what concerns me. At this level of looking at the diagrams, it all makes sense, but I'm hearing that there will be no impacts to natural resources, or there are none proposed at this time. Well, I look clearly at look where the hub gardens are. There's a little white thumb area in there. That looks to me like part of existing wetland.
Would you like the pointer?
No, it's up. Just go straight up, right there. There you go. Okay, that looks like that's supposed to be wetland, like all the larger mass around it. And then if these are the wetlands, then we put Franklin's 20 and 30-foot buffers on that. We're out 50 feet from that. So I'm seeing structures that come very close to what we already know are wetland and are probably protected by buffers.
Yeah, so they would need to conduct a natural resource, a new field delineation. I believe the ones that evaluated at this point, but you're correct. There's the 30-foot buffer and the 30-foot setback. So this project would probably require an crossing. When I looked at the other boundaries, and I haven't gotten into like the super granular, but the easement area is only around the constructed. Those were recorded and there's a pathway access.
Maintenance.
So they're relatively tight to constructed wetlands. There's no other ordinance. Just the
Okay, well, again, it's a big concern. You tell me you can do this, I'm not convinced till I see it on paper. Those site plans, we're being asked to approve something up front. We don't know. We're assuming it will all work out. I do believe this isn't a secondary environmental corridor, which is not currently protected with our UDO, but I do believe that related to the Ryan Creek Interceptor, we signed an agreement with MMSD that set with Sewer Pack saying that we would protect the primary and secondary environmental corridors. So the environmental corridor is not the area outlined, the polygon that shows wetland. It's everything. It's wetlands, woodlands, so you draw a much larger, and Sewer Pack has already delineated these areas, so that's why I'm going to encourage people to go right there and see the boundaries of that secondary environmental corridor. Because I'm seeing encroachments into it. Again, this is just me speculating because I haven't seen site plans yet. I think it's very important that any existing conservation easements, NRPP, anything that's been recorded on this prior, that we need to revisit those right away up front, because those are some things that could take the viability out of your project. Got a beautiful site. I think it's a great use of it, especially focusing everything to the east, but we do have to work around and protect everything else. Big picture thing. And I'm very concerned, and we've heard this before, but there are a lot of neighbors out here concerned about flooding, backing up. I'm not sure exactly what the purpose of the MMSD project was, what we were promising to complete and get done, and how it was going to help. That's their business. But it's a good thing. But this whole area needs to function as a natural resource, an environmental corridor. And I'm seeing buildings very close to it, if not directly encroaching on it already. Okay, and I understand it's conceptual, these things will all move, but I'm trying to point out to you, you've got a lot of homework to do in a hurry before you can come up with site plans that make this work. And the advantage you have is the low density, what you're doing out here, and that they can be compacted. But I'm of the mind that you may need to squeeze things together a little bit more. And certainly the issues with stormwater maintenance. So Ms. X, the blue one on the bottom, that was done for NML. That's part of their stormwater management for the larger development there.
I'm actually not very sure exactly what its purpose is. You should
Exactly, and then that leads to the question of capacity. Was it designed for just what NML built at the time? Did it have any future capacity in it? These created wetlands, you mentioned that we have different standards for created wetlands currently?
They're not regulated as.
Okay, but people will pay money to create a wetland that we can't call a wetland.
My understanding is that this project, the plant did review plants that were placed instead of producing traditional stormwater pond with no wildlife diminished line, were planted. It was meant to be part of still have.
Yes, I'm very familiar with that, and that's all good stuff. So again, I don't want to throw a bomb at it, but you really need to get thinking, because that beautiful environmental corridor that everybody likes and you think would make a great backdrop for your development needs to be protected. And that starts by finding out what's already on the record. Recorded easements, conservation easements. I have no idea what the city of Franklin's involvement. I just know we were involved. I don't know if we put up money, if we required any protections on that. There's a whole lot of unanswered questions, and I'm not going to go and enumerate them. But if they're not addressed when the site plans come back, you're going to hear it from me. What else do I have? I guess I'm okay. I'm sharing with you my concerns. You've got a challenge ahead of you. Do it right. Do it now. I'm actually a little bit disappointed that we're to this point and we're being asked to modify our comp plan and other things already on the books for a development we're not convinced can happen. and that may not contribute to the tax base of this community. My thoughts. Thank you.
Mr. Leon.
So, Mayor, I do have more questions, but I would certainly defer to any other commission members first if they have questions.
Anything yet? If not, I can.
Okay, so then I will go with my questions while the Alderwoman gathers some. So, thank you, Commissioner Haley. With the permission of the chair and I guess the rest of the board, I will ask for a roll call vote on this because candidly, I'm going to follow Commissioner Haley's lead on this one because he's knowledgeable about the environmental impacts. Personally, I would like more engineering input on this one as well. I do believe that tabling both of these items would be appropriate here to allow the applicant more time to go back and do some of the research that came up tonight. I understand that might not be a viable option, but that's where my mind is at this point, to get more input from engineering and get more review with the applicant on these. One thing that I will say in support of this, so I'm relative of a family member my age with autism. I think this is a good location. I think this is an appropriate use of the area outside of the concerns to do with water, right, effectively. And I've hiked immediately west of there. I can't think of the name of the park, but it's over by Southwood Glen, or Pleasant View, rather. And I've been out there when there's a lot of water and ice and impassable, and I have significant concerns about that area. So that's why I'm looking for more input from staff before this moves forward. Understanding a lot of this stuff would be addressed in site plan. I'd like to see it addressed sooner before we get to that point. But one thing I will say is, as with operators of any facility, that when it comes here, I have confidence in their ability to protect the residents of that area. I have no concerns. The one resident talked about people walking around near the ponds. The operators know how to keep the population safe in that area, and I think that should not be a concern of anyone. The safety of residents of this area if it does go forward. So, the same type of questions can come up with basically childcare activities, senior residences, all sorts of different areas. We can trust that we have good partners in any operator and to protect public safety in that regard. But again, my inclination at this point would be to table. I'm not making the motion at this point, but I do think it would be appropriate to table for now. But with that, I defer.
Are you yielding right now?
I yield.
Okay, I'm going to address the one comment. I was trying to ask our Director of Administration to step up for a second just to help refresh my memory, or maybe staff knows. Common Council, we didn't vote anything down yet. We didn't, we were moving everything forward. There was no negative vote on anything with this yet. We're still, am I missing something in that gentleman's comment? I don't believe it's accurate even a little. But no, we're not. We've already had a citizen comment. It's, well, all right, sure, come on up.
Can we do a motion on that?
Let's do a motion to suspend the rules to allow the gentleman to talk.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor? Hold on.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Sir, you've got the floor.
Real quick, I just heard that a while back, the Common Council voted to reject it outright. And I'm just asking you why you changed your mind now and your...
I know, I'm trying to answer that. So, Alderman Day?
Didn't happen.
No, it didn't happen. So whoever you heard, Mary X.
The gentleman maybe has heard that there was a review before Common Council where the applicants did come forward and introduce this concept to Common Council, but there was no action taken at that meeting. There was no decision made. So,
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Move to return to normal business.
Second.
First and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. We are back in regular status. So, I have a few things, and unless you want to go.
Up to you.
All right, so one of the things I've got is, looking at, I won't get your mic, we're good. Looking at this part right here, I would highly encourage you, I know you touched on it about having underground parking. Please, 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 I guess that's one of the big things about, curb appeal, optics, as much of parking as it can be either garages, individual garages, or underground would be great, because that's one of the things that I'm a big proponent on is how does it look? We don't want people, we don't want trashy looking anything. We want it to look nice. We want it to look clean, kept, and the optics are a big deal. And that's one of the optics. And so how this is going to roll out. And then if there is any sort of commitment that you're going to be able to put in writing that says that you're not going to be, expanding anything. And to Commissioner Haley's point, there is a lot of work that we have to still deal with this part to make sure things are protected and how we move forward. But it would also put a lot of people at ease if this was the totality of the project. And as far as the taxing implications that were brought up, this is absolutely, very, very sought after, and that's a challenge to now know that there perhaps may not be any tax increment coming out of this entire project. That's a tough one too. So for now, I will yield to Alderwoman Day.
Thank you. So just a couple of things. So I agree a bit with Commissioner Leon about the engineering and the stormwater questions that have come up. I think that it might be something that we need a little bit more time to look into, to have some answers to those questions, or maybe a little bit more of a formalized plan on that before getting the cart out too far in front of the horse. But with that being said, I trust our planning staff's recommendation. I know that you, as the applicant, have been working with them nonstop for several months on this particular concept plan that's in front of us tonight, and know that from the presentation from staff here that they don't have a lot of concerns about moving forward with the two items that are in front of us this evening, knowing that more things regarding the water will come in the site plan. So I'm comfortable moving forward, but at the same time, I understand the need for getting more input from our engineering staff on some of the concerns that were brought up tonight about the water. As far as other development on the site, what I will say to that is there were a lot of concerns that I heard as I was listening to this in the car on the way over. So I heard the majority of the citizen comments this evening. With regard to the nature portion of this, I don't know that you would get any other developer in this area that would have a smaller density footprint as far as like impervious surface and concrete and buildings that aren't aesthetically pleasing. I don't know that you would get a housing stock to come in here that would be less dense than this is right now. And I don't know that you would get an organization or a business to come in that would care more about the aesthetics of the surrounding area than this particular development. I'm thinking of, I know that this is, zoned, part of it is zoned that it could be office use. I don't think an office building would care as much about how pretty and pristine and calm the surrounding area is. They're just there to do their job and go home at the end of the day. If it's, apartment complexes with more cars coming in and out, I think from that perspective and that concern, you're not going to find a developer who's going to come in and develop the land that is going to appreciate what is there more so than a development like this. So with that, I will yield.
Mr. Leon.
So listening to the Alderwoman's comments, I would not call to table this, but I am going to ask for a roll call vote on this because effectively, if Commissioner Haley is okay with leaving this to the site plan, I would follow suit. But if not, I would similarly follow suit and not move forward on this. So when we get to the vote, again, I'm asking for a roll call vote, and don't leave asking me to vote.
Mr. Haley, do you have a comment on that? You don't have to. I'm just asking you since you made that statement.
No, I think we're better off tabling it. I had a lot of questions that didn't get answered.
That's what I'm thinking. The same way.
Okay, then, yeah, I mean, hearing that, then if we're done with comments, then I would make that motion.
Mr. Shuggle?
I just think there's a lot of environmental issues. I think it's a great project. It would be a great asset to Franklin. Are there, and I guess I'd have to throw the question out there, are there other creative ways to create any tax money coming in for this property? I know that's a big issue and a hot topic, but.
Pilot. Payments in lieu of taxes.
I mean, that's for discussion down the road.
Right.
Um,
Short answer is yes.
Okay, all right, good. That's two comments I had.
Yes, ma'am.
I was just going to remind everyone that we also have a market rate section to this community, which that is another way to create a tax base potentially.
And that was this right here,
Yes,
correct?
that whole section there, yes.
Got it. Well, now you'd like to come up here? Sure, sure. Madam Director of Administration, come on up.
So we were sitting here, Planner Fuchs and I, and talking, and he brought up the environmental corridor. It's well within that corridor. There have been conversations in the past presentations that we have heard where they've said that they're not touching any of the wetlands or the environmental features there. And I'd also like to remind everybody on Plan Commission that the engineering staff will always review for stormwater management and those other related items appropriately when it comes to them. Thank you.
Mr. Leon.
I'll defer to the city attorney.
Mr. City Attorney.
And as the administrator said, that's required by the code in the Unified Development Ordinance. Stormwater management.
Well stated. Mr. Leon.
Actually, I'm going to defer to Commissioner Haley again, as I had his hand up. Then I will have a question.
Commissioner Haley.
Never mind. Not worth it.
All that for that?
All right. All right. Then I will take it.
Mr. Leon.
With thanks to the Director of Administration, I would like to have more information from engineering before moving forward on it. I appreciate that engineering would review it, but I'd like to hear more before we move forward on this. So again, I'm ready to make a motion to table. A question I would have is, should we table both items since they're presented together or separately? And I'll ask that question with regards to the chair. I'm asking that question to staff, to the planning staff.
No, there are 3 items.
Yeah, we would have to open the hearing for the rezoning.
The second one.
Yeah.
So we go to, well, first, so we would, at this point, we would make a motion to table item 3. Then we'd go over and we'd open up the public hearing.
Right.
Close the public hearing, and then look to table that one. Or we're gonna keep, or, well, I'm saying,
Hold over.
open the public hearing, listen to comments, close the public hearing, and go for a motion to table.
Do we, I don't think it's closed. It's another
We're
category.
gonna keep it open?
Yeah, I think you hold it over to
You
the,
could choose to continue it.
yeah.
That's if the reason to do
I don't think there's a reason. The reason is we're going here to simply table items 3 and 4.
Okay, and that's,
So that's why I think it makes the most sense to streamline it and just table it but still offer the public hearing at this point.
We still have to
Okay. Alderman Day.
move to table this one.
I just have a procedural question for the city attorney. If the motion to table
Regular.
does not get 4 votes, what happens?
Fails.
And then what happens?
Wait for another vote or motion.
You still have the floor. Mr. Leon?
and then another procedural question. Now that we have one other voting member here, the chair does not vote, correct? Except to affect the outcome.
Except to affect the outcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I'm going to take a stab at this because I think I got positive confirmation from planning staff to table item 3 only for now.
Right.
So that it can be reviewed with staff to get a more details specifically from engineering staff until that review has happened with engineering staff. That's my motion. Table agenda item C3 only at this point.
Is there a second? We have a first and a second. This will be a roll call vote. Regula, would you please conduct the roll call vote, starting with Mr. Leon?
You know what? Fine. Is it to me?
Commissioner
Aye.
Leon. Okay. Alderwoman Day.
No.
Aye.
Kevin Haley. Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Shago.
Aye.
So now to
3 votes, 1 no.
Am I voting or is the motion carries with 3-1?
No, it requires 4 affirmative votes for a motion to
Aye to
pass.
table. 4-1. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay? Now, going on to item C4. Ms. X.
This is a notice of public hearing on Thursday, August 22nd, 2024 at 6:00 PM in the Common Council Chambers at Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road, Franklin, Wisconsin, 53132, for an application by Amy Hansel, Communities of Crocus, Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance property owner. The subject property is, the site of the proposed rezoning is approximately 24.5 acres, 3 vacant properties located at 7521 South 31st Street, and the 2 lots immediately north of this property with address 0 South 35th Street and 0 South 31st Street, currently zoned R6 Suburban Single Family Residence District and OL1 Office Overlay District, with tax key numbers 761-9994005, 761-9997003, and 786-9981004. The proposal is a request for approval of an ordinance to amend the Unified Development Ordinance zoning map to rezone certain parcels of land from R6 Suburban Single Family Residence District and OL1 Office Overlay District to B4 South 27th Street Mixed Use Commercial District. This public hearing is being held pursuant to the requirements of 6223(7), et cetera, of the Wisconsin statutes and Division 15-90200 of the City of Franklin Unified Development Ordinance, a map showing the property affected, full legal description. And the application and supporting materials are available for review and may be obtained from the City Council by way of request to the Department of City Development, Franklin City Hall, same address. During normal business hours, a copy of the proposed ordinance in draft form is available and open for inspection by the public in the office of the city clerk at Franklin City Hall. The public is invited to attend the public hearing and to provide input. The proposed amendment is subject to revisions following a public hearing and further consideration by the Plan Commission and Common Council.
So thank you. To help streamline this, you combined 3 and 4 in your presentation. Okay? You discussed 3 and 4 unless you have something to add to this at this point. No? Okay, good. So what I'm going to do at this point, if you want to read the public hearing, then open it up. Okay? So it is 7:42 PM. We're going to open up the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak on this, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, close it 7:43 PM. Well, it was open and closed. So
May I make a motion, Mayor?
you want to reopen it?
Nope, no, I wasn't going to, but I'm going to defer to the city attorney.
Mr. City Attorney?
Fortunately, I just made an assumption, tabled to the next meeting. The motion to table previously did not state until when, and it should do that, so,
Yeah, I can address that in my motion for this item.
well,
So the information's ready.
I would do a separate motion to state the time of return with regard to the tabling on the C3 motion.
I think I got it. So if I may.
Mr. Leon?
I make a motion that we table the public comment on both the public hearings for agenda items 3 and 4 until this item is brought back before this commission at a date to be determined.
Mr. City Attorney?
I think it should be a separate motion for C3, as I stated, as well as separate motion for C4. And I would suggest that the motion state that it be returned to the Plan Commission as soon as the engineering review and preparation is available and no later than the second meeting in September or the first?
Okay, I will amend my motion for now, just to apply to agenda item C4, since that's what we're on, the citizen comment, or, the public hearing on C4, until engineering can return a report to this commission. I would not be okay with setting a limit on when that'll happen. I want to give them the flexibility to be able to do
But
that.
that's process, that's how tabling is done.
You can't table an item indefinitely, effectively?
Well, unless you state a time, that's what it is, and then it doesn't get brought back.
Okay. Then, that being the case,
How about the
Just-
second meeting in September?
you think that's enough time?
September 19.
Is that enough time, regular, or do you want to go into October?
I'll be out of town.
How about the first meeting in October?
We just need to have enough time for the public notice. is
Yeah.
what I'm-
Is that okay?
How about the first meeting in October?
October 1, no, that's council, October 3.
One question. So if we're continuing the public hearing, then we don't need to
No,
renotice.
the hearing was closed,
Okay. And we don't need to renotice.
correct.
Okay.
Post the agenda.
Okay.
That's the other reason to put a time limit on
Okay.
it, as further notice to the public.
How about the first meeting in October?
October 3rd?
That's going to give engineering enough time, the applicant enough time.
So the motion states that it
Yeah.
shall return to the,
Shall return after we get a report from the engineering department and no later than
No.
October 3rd. But I heard a comment from Commissioner Haley in there that he may not be available for that meeting, and I do want his,
No, the third he will. It was the second one in September he won't.
is that accurate?
Is that accurate?
neither.
Neither? Okay, so then, yeah, that's why I want to potentially go out further. Or I guess we could have a special meeting.
Oh, how about we go out now? Mr. Haley?
The concern that I have with this in either way, we're putting a timeline on this. The questions I asked will not be addressed by engineering. These plans don't deal with that until they come back with new submittals that show detailed draft site plan, grading plans, whatever. They'll have nothing to review. There's nothing for them to comment and say it's fine because there's no detail in this plan. They don't know whether the drainage will work. They don't know whether the roads will work. I'm just trying to give them some time. They need.
Right.
And personally, that's what I was going to say before, I like to have that information before I vote.
Okay, we'll go with Mary next first, then Ms. Hazel.
Thank you. So the questions before the commission this evening of the special use and of the comp plan amendment and rezoning are not at that level of detail, as Kevin Haley has noted. And I think it's important to bear in mind that there is a lot of engineering work that would be required to fully resolve that and have a turnaround of reviewing a full stormwater submittal. And since this is a phased development, they can only address phase 1. So I have some concerns about delaying the rezoning for something that could be several years down the line in terms of design. So that comment is for the group, but also I do want to, note that there's some pressure on the applicants as well, and they probably have some comments about where they are in terms of scoping this out. So I don't want to speak for them in terms of like they may have already done some of the stormwater engineering, but that is something that requiring it at this step before they have even received an approval to have this use at that location is prohibitive for the project. So.
Ms. Hazel?
Yeah, my question was a little bit similar. I was just going to kind of make a comment because I was wondering, Mr. Haley, what the concern would be of not tabling this and giving us an opportunity to work on that site plan, which would provide all the information that you need.
Well, that's exactly what we're looking for. That's what I would like to see, but that's not going to happen here in 2 weeks.
Right, but it would
We're looking
happen.
at months worth of work. And I don't know how much prior homework you've done on this site, but a lot of the questions I asked, that's homework. That's stuff that needs to be looked at right away to find out if it's even a viable project as you envision it. Deed restrictions, conservation easements, those are all hardcore reality things. So I'm just trying to give you enough time to come back with something comprehensive. And that's, again, my concern. I know that engineering can't just snap their fingers and review this, and whether you believe it or not, I go through all these plans and put scrutiny on it, so I'd like to see more detail.
Mr. City Engineer. Excuse me, City Attorney. It's a bad omen, sorry.
Real world thought. This is an application. Comprehensive master plan amendment, rezoning, a special use. The standard zoning review process is a step by step. This is the general picture of what might be developed on this property, and that is why it does not require the time and monetary expenditure required to comply with the next steps, which are the site plan, et cetera, conservation easements, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the entirety of planning staff is nodding their head yes. So I think that should be taken into account. Premature, my thought.
Mr. Leon?
So to clarify, we still are only talking about the comprehensive master plan amendment and rezoning, correct? We're not revisiting special use with what you're proposing. We still tabled special use. Do I understand that correctly? And we are looking to potentially move forward on the CMP amendment and rezoning.
Well, it's the same request for the same information, and none of that happens until you reach the site plan.
Okay, so to make some clarity here, so are we looking to bring this entire thing back now in October, or are we looking to revisit? I mean, I'm deferring to our counsel on this because I have my own thoughts, but I don't know if they're procedurally, oh, you're all good. No, I hit it again. Hit it again. Don't touch that.
I appreciate current status of engineering department. However, I think the city could review these concerns about flood drain off, et cetera, which in general, and Mary is raising her hand, I think that can be done in more detail than what was presented, and bring that back to the next regular plan commission meeting for more information, and provide a detailed list maybe of, here is why, if there's a risk of drain off onto adjoining properties, how that would be regulated before it happened as part of the next step approval process. Next steps.
Marion?
Thank you for those comments, City Attorney. I think we could craft some conditions that are not requiring the full stormwater engineering at this point, since we don't know what that would look like, but an evaluation of the drainage. And I would have to have a conversation with engineering to determine exactly how to scope that. So if that is something that the commission feels strongly about, we can figure something out. But yeah.
So sorry.
Mr. Leon?
So am I hearing September 5th, which is the next meeting, correct?
That's pretty quick. You good by the 5th, or the second one?
With a holiday in there.
I think one more.
My 2 cents is it should be the second one of September. But if you're prepared and ready,
I won't be here.
Yeah. And I'd like to hear if
Mr. Haley, yes.
if Mr. Haley's concerns are addressed, if he's not available on the 19th.
Mr. Haley, when are you back and available to be? This is the first meeting in October or the second meeting in October?
I'm out of town the 16th through the
Oh,
24th.
September, October.
so in October, exactly when will you be back, sir? If you know. As your missions are secret.
In November?
October. August.
17th works.
Okay.
3rd, my son's birthday, suppose I can go there?
So I'm
And
hearing-
Halloween is the 31st, so that puts it on the 17th.
So then, if I can get this right, so we are talking about agenda item C4, tabling for additional engineering combined with planning staff input for, to be brought back no later than October 17th Plan Commission meeting. And we're just holding over, at this point, the public hearing on this matter.
Well, the
Correct?
public hearing on C4 was open and closed.
Okay, I thought we were just holding it over so that we could get comment at that point.
Mr. City Attorney?
No, it was closed.
But the discussion was to not close it so that we could have public comment at that meeting.
There was no motion.
Hold on. Mr. Regulo Martinez, please activate his microphone.
Mayor Barden.
That's not what
All right.
occurred.
So we want people to be able to give comment, but effective comment wasn't tonight. Effective comment will be after all the facts and we get all that stuff out there. Hold on a second. So now we're getting to a point where we're this circular stuff, and that's not getting us anywhere. So, Mr. City Attorney, don't hit your button. Stop touching. You got the floor, sir.
In the new realm of the Plan Commission agenda format, this matter would return and it would be on the agenda as a business matter, not a public hearing matter. And there is now a citizen comment period section on the agenda that states citizens may comment upon the business matter items set forth on this meeting agenda.
Perfect. That covers it then. Good. Alderwoman Day?
That was going to be my point. That it would be a
Excellent
business
point.
matter.
Okay, so now are we looking to have it come back October 17th? I know you said no later than, but I think we were putting the date on October 17th.
Seems like it will be October 17th, so I would specify that, October 17th, with a report from engineering and planning staff with additional details. That's my motion to table it until October 17th with additional input from engineering, planning staff, and the applicant.
We'll have- Mr. City Attorney?
Nothing other than noting the current status of engineering. So some engineering review will be brought back. Of
course it will.
That's what's in the motion.
Yes.
Okay, engineering review.
Okay, so that's your
Second.
motion. We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes
No.
have. Roll call, Mr. Martinez.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
No.
Commissioner Haley.
Yes.
Commissioner Shargo.
Aye.
3 ayes, 1 no.
Mayor votes aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
back. Number 7.
October 17th, everyone, in the short, it'll be back. There will be a citizen comment period, so you will all be able to comment on that free and openly. Just to give a little clarification, we have a public hearing, and now in the next part of the agenda, when we have citizen comment periods, that's about business matters coming forward. So you will all, if you wish, have an opportunity to speak on that issue and that item. Okay? Thank you. Number 5, Mr. Fuchs.
That was for Nick. For Nick.
Amy, do you have a card? I'm gonna call you tomorrow. Do you have a card on you? You have a card on you? I want to call you tomorrow. Mr. Fuchs, you got the floor.
All right, item number 5 is for Field 99 special use. This has been before the Plan Commission previously. It's for a soccer training facility. The Plan Commission initially recommended a shared parking agreement. The applicant has decided that they'd we're going to provide overflow parking or additional parking on their site, which is with the Go Right Way property. The public hearing was postponed and continued for tonight's meeting. The applicant, I know, has been working with the adjacent property owner, Holtz Motors, to come up with a plan. I know there's still some work to address the parking issues that have occurred on site, but it sounds like they are working together and working on striping and signage to direct traffic and make sure there's not any issues between the neighbors, and the applicant is providing additional parking on their site. So staff's continue to recommend approval. There's a public hearing this evening, as I mentioned, and the applicant is here as well as the adjacent property owner.
Excellent. Would the applicant wish to? Hello. There. Good evening. Welcome. Please state your name and business address for the record, please.
Good evening, Kelly Legler, 11141 West Forest Home Avenue, Franklin.
Good evening. Now, you don't need to mention anything more unless you are happy. If you wish to mention something, you may, and then we'll be answering questions from the board after public hearing is opened and closed.
Yeah, I think Nick basically mentioned everything. We've been working closely with Holtz Motors, our parking lot neighbor, and also Go Right Way, and trying to find a solution to make everyone happy.
Good. Thank you. Would you like to read the notice?
Sure. Notice of public hearing, City of Franklin Plan Commission, Thursday, August 8th, 2024 at 6 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter may be heard in the Common Council Chambers of Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road, Franklin, Wisconsin, 53132. Applicant Kelly Legler, Field 99, for property located at 11141 West Forest Home Avenue, zoned M1 Lebanon Industrial District, tax key number 704-9990-003. Proposal for an application of a special use to allow for a youth soccer training facility at 11141 West Forest Home Avenue. The business use consists of indoor and outdoor soccer training for all ages. The public hearing is being held pursuant to the requirements and standards of Section 15-3.0701, General Standards for Special Uses, Section 15-3.0703, Detailed Standards for Special Uses in Non-Residential Districts, and Section 15-9.0103, Applications for Special Use Permit of the City of Franklin Unified Development Ordinance. A copy of the proposed special use resolution in draft form is available and open for inspection by the public in the office of the City Clerk at Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road, Franklin, Wisconsin, 53132, during normal business hours. The public is invited to attend the public hearing and to provide input. The proposed draft form resolution is subject to revisions following public hearing and the further consideration by the Plan Commission and the City of Franklin Common Council.
Thank you. At this time, we'll open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak on this item, please come forth to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Good evening.
Good evening. Doug Nalbert, Holtz Motors, representing property 11139 West Forest Home Avenue. 2 weeks ago, I was here and presented an objection due to parking issues and the problems we were having. I'd like to withdraw it at this point. I'm convinced that Field 99 is going to do whatever they can to make the parking issues acceptable to us as their neighbor. That's
That
it.
is wonderful. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this? Going once, twice? Ms. Gint? Opposed? I'll start by saying that's excellent news when people can come together, work together to a solution. big fan of Holtz, big fan of your project. It's great to have that. So with that, I'll open it up to anyone else on the commission. Nobody, motion?
A motion to recommend approval of a resolution imposing conditions and restrictions for the approval of a special use for an indoor and outdoor youth soccer training business use upon property located at 11141 West Forest Home Avenue, Kelly Legler, Field 99, applicant, Bass Marshall LLC property owner.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Excellent.
Thank you guys so much.
Yes. Good. We'll move on to D. Uh-oh.
Did we get five?
You know what? Let's just get crazy here. Let's take a 5-minute recess. Come back at 8:10, please. 8:10 p.m. Mr. Martinez, can you whittle us other one? I'll just green.
Not going to go red direct.
Green arrow.
8:10 p.m. We are back on the record. We are moving now to letter D as in David. Citizen comment period. Citizens may comment upon the business matter items set forth on this meeting agenda. Anybody wishing to speak on the listed agenda items only, please come to the podium. State your name and address for the record. Good evening, Ms. Gint. Which one could you be speaking on?
Doesn't sound like it.
Right. Okay, is that better? Okay. Dana Gint, 9011 West Hawthorne Lane, just to say it again. I am here to speak on the, I think it's called the city report, the zoning enforcement. It says that there was 105 noise complaints regarding the Rock Sports Complex, and 104 of those were closed. I really don't understand. Okay.
So the citizen comment period, you can only speak, and I'll say this again.
Yeah.
Right, Counselor? Citizens may comment upon the business matter items set forth on this meeting agenda.
It's
So that would be
listed.
E1, E2, right? 3.
It's in business.
Department of City Development mid-year report, options to update the city's comprehensive plan, or introduction to traditional neighborhood development.
Right. And that is the city report I'm referring to.
Excellent.
E3, yeah.
E3. Sorry if I didn't know what number it was. So yes.
I didn't either. I'm glad the counselor's here. Please.
Okay, thank you. So yes, it is on the agenda. I just want to repeat that there's 105 noise complaints in 2023, and they closed 104 of them. So I'm trying to understand how they're actually being closed when the police department is not going out to verify if there's noise problems. And then more concerning is that it says in 2024 that there were, I think, 10 complaints. Well, it says there's 33 zoning complaints. It doesn't really say what they're related to, but that those have also, some of those have also been closed. At the March 2024 resolution, it says the decibel level is supposed to be 50 at the property line, and the police aren't going out to measure that. So how are these complaints being closed? So that's my question. So I don't understand how these complaints are being closed. And these are just the online complaints. These are not the police complaints, which are probably even more in numbers. Usually people call the police, obviously, regarding noise. They don't run to their computer and file a complaint. So there's likely 200 complaints that are not being followed up on, which is very concerning to me. So I'm just raising my concern about that, especially, for example, August 3rd, multiple people complained about the noise from the rock for miles and in every direction, and the police didn't even go out and make any measurements. So how is that not being, I mean, there's nothing being verified that the noise is being a nuisance, I guess is my concern. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gant. Anyone else wishing to speak? Once, twice? We will now close citizen comment period and go on to business matters. E1. Luke, good evening and welcome. This is yours. If you'd like to read it.
Yeah, this is good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, commission members. This is a miscellaneous application that we use for landscape buffer yard easements, et cetera. In this case, it's called a private planting screen. You should be familiar with this, as we had a similar application at the last two meetings with Ms. Dawes. This proposal is for a similar project just north here at 7512 South 77th Street. The applicant is requesting for the release of the plat restriction to install a 6-foot fence within the private planting screen as shown on the plat survey here. This abuts South 76th Street, which is a county-owned road. The purpose of these is, to ameliorate nuisances, noise, dirt, sound, things like that. And we use this miscellaneous application because we prohibit fences and other structures within these planting screens and landscape buffer yard easements without approval from the Plan Commission and Common Council. So this is what this proposal is for the release of the plat restriction to allow for a 6-foot vinyl fence. It will look like one of these two fences on the up here. These are some pictures taken. The top left one is taken from the property from the house looking east towards 76th Street. As you can see, there's not actually that many trees or anything there. So the fence would benefit this property by creating another buffer. And looking from South 76th Street, I took this picture in July. The proposed fence you might be able to see the proposed fence, maybe the top of it, but it's pretty far inland, about 16 feet. So it would be barely visible from South 76th Street. We sent comments to Milwaukee County, heard nothing from them. They had no concerns. And so ultimately, we are recommending approval of the release of this plat restriction to install a fence.
Excellent. And they're next to the Dawes? Outstanding. Any communication? Mr. Leone?
This is my neighborhood. I question whether or not you'd be able to see that at all from 76th Street.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I have no concerns with this. I think it would be a very good addition for their property.
Good. Is there a motion?
A motion to recommend approval of a resolution authorizing the installation of a fence within the 20-foot private planting screen plat restriction upon Lot 13 in Block 1 in Tuckaway Green Subdivision, 7512 South 77th Street.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Excellent. Something that makes sense. Number 2, yours, Luke, again.
Yes. Hello again. This is a application for a master sign program amendment upon lot 7730 South Lovers Lane. This has an approved site plan and is currently under construction for a Dairy Queen and a Taco Pros restaurant, plus a third future tenant that is currently to be determined. In the master sign program that was established here in 2008 and amended multiple times since then, it required that future building 6, which is this property, requires a master sign program amendment. Standards were not shown for what those should be, but planning has determined that they should be fairly similar to the other multi-tenant developments in the outbuildings here. So in your additional packet, I attached a draft master sign program amendment for building 6. If you can see the request for the Dairy Queen, they're requesting 4 signs, 2 on the business facade, 3 on this western facade towards that one private drive, and then a 4th sign going north facing Drexel. This is the signs that they're proposing. So a wall sign for the Dairy Queen logo, channel letter signage for the grill and chill aspect of it. As you go here on the west facade, it's Dairy Queen logo again, wall sign, and then on the north side, a smaller Dairy Queen logo. Now, this is considered an end tenant. In our other outbuildings for end tenants, they are allowed 3 signs total, 1 on each facade, 1, 2, 3, for example. The applicant is requesting 4, which would not comply with the draft amendment that I have drafted for you. So here, again, each tenant here, end cap tenants, for example, the Dairy Queen's an end cap tenant, number of signs permitted, 3, one side on the rear, front side of the building, which offers the most visibility. And here is the draft that I have created. I have taken the building frontage and averaged out the sign area per sign that they would receive. Maximum signs allowed 3, total allowable sign area. And also I added a maximum square footage for one sign as to not create overly large signs compared to the rest of the signs. And then they are proposing, they have an approved drive-through as well, as you can see here, that they are also constructing. So they are proposing drive-through signage. They propose 2 different options for the Plan Commission to consider. One is with the Dairy Queen logo and advertising, and one is without. According to the Master Sign Program, directional signage, things like that cannot show signage. So the planning staff is recommending that they use this right sign that only shows the drive-through and not the Dairy Queen logo. And then we have the Taco Pro signage, which is more typical with the other outbuildings. It's channel lettering with some logos. The channel lettering sign maximum height is 26, as is the standard with the other development, with the other properties. So this would be, planning staff has no issue with these signs. And then they are also proposing changes to the monument signs that are on one property and on the other side of that first private drive off of Drexel. So this is the current situation with monument sign A, that's on the Dairy Queen Taco Pro property. They're proposing to change it to their businesses that will be occupying that space, and then to replace this on the other side of the private drive here, to change the Shops at Wyndham Village signage to the Target Pick and Save signage. And they have approval, they have written approval from the Shops at Wyndham Village to do that. So planning staff also has no qualms with the monument signage. So ultimately, I recommended tabling for the applicant to change the amount of signage that they're proposing. It's under the square footage maximum, things like that, but they are proposing 4 signs. I would propose that they reduce that to 3. Either they could maybe move the grill and chill to here and have a big DQ sign and then grill and chill next to it, something like that. So city staff's recommending tabling this application for the applicant to change the signage.
Is the applicant here tonight?
Yes.
Good evening, sir. Do you mind coming up here to the chair? Thank you for your patience on the meeting. Could you please state your name and business address for the record?
My name is Dave Galani, Dharmesh Galani, 7730 South Lovers Lane Road, Franklin 53132.
Thank you. So what are your thoughts about staff's recommendation?
I would like to have Planning Commission consider to see now newer sign with the Dairy Queen, the actual, even though it says just a DQ, the whole name is DQ Grill and Chill. If you Google the name DQ, you will see it says DQ Grill and Chill. The staff is taking that as a 2 sign rather than just considering it's a 1 sign. We didn't put the DQ Grill and Chill on the north side or the west side because, again, we're gonna exceed the square footage that we might allow. So we ideally like to have the whole name, which is DQ Grill and Chill, but it's not possible to have all 3. So I would consider to Planning Commission, see if that's okay. It's a 1, technically, even though I know Luke said that's it's not on the same raceway, that's why it's considering 2 sign. But I have a question to see if we draw a square feet, and would that still be within the limit, and can we use that as a one sign?
Let's see. So the proposed square footage for both these signs, 27.63, 19.98, added together is, let's see. Yeah, 46, 47. It would fall under the maximum for one sign, and the rest of the proposal would, fall under, the rest of the signage as proposed would fall under that maximum.
Okay, quick question. So now, so if we can work this out, this would be great. But a side item is, when do you think, how's your timeline coming about?
Actually, one of the things I mentioned in the email is like we are running very close. We are hoping to open on 23rd of September, which is everything.
Taco place?
No, Taco place would be 2 weeks from after the opening of that. So the first thing would be the Dairy Queen, and then would be Taco Pros. So ideally, if we get, instead of tabling, if we get to the some kind of resolution, that would be ideal. So that will give us the time to get the sign manufacturer and get it installed, so we don't have to delay our project for a couple more weeks.
Mr. Leon?
So when the applicant came before with this project, there were some residents to the north that had some concerns about the north elevation signage. I believe they were addressed and that this is consistent with that. But if I could just get confirmation from staff that basically it won't be an obstruction, that's not the right word, to the residents over in Wyndham Village.
Yeah, so the site plan had an improved landscape buffer yard, so that should block off some of the light. Also, in that draft resolution that I prepared for you, I am suggesting that illumination be turned off after 10 p.m., which is similar to Outbuilding 8, which is Summit Credit Union. They are required to turn off their lights after 10 p.m. So I have that in the draft.
I see some head shaking from the applicant about that.
Yes, if you pass by on that road on a Drexel, you should be able to still see a lot of sign is still illuminated after 10. So I know this thing was brought up during our special use permit for the drive-through. And that's when they said, we made the changes so the lights are not projecting on the residential side. And especially the way we designed the drive-through is it's the most of the car is facing the other way. So currently the building 5, I don't know exactly what building, but either side of the building, Mathnasium sign is lit after 10 o'clock, and so does the other 2 sign on other side of the building. So my question is, if their sign is already allowed, then why cannot my sign stay lit after 10?
So to the applicant, that might just be they're not compliant with the requirements. So we certainly would, it's complaint-based, right? But we would ask the applicant to be compliant with it, especially since this sign is closer to the road that leads to Wyndham Village. So the residents who had those concerns would be looking down Wyndham Village. So I think what Mr. Hamel said is this would be compliant, especially with the 10 p.m. shut off of that light. I think your operations are done at 10 p.m. So it doesn't seem like it would be an issue. I'm not concerned with the lights of vehicles because, to your point, they would face west and then turn south. So it really just comes down to the lighting that is on that north facade being shut off at 10 p.m. If you're good with that, I'm good with it.
Yes, we can do that, sure.
And
Thank you.
do we need to revisit the sign part? Are we?
That would be up for you guys to make a determination if you would allow.
Consider that as 2 sign as a.
Or we could make an amendment to my draft that, the Dairy Queen is allowed 4 signs with 2 signs on the.
I support it 100%. I understand that the whole branding changed.
Yep.
So the whole branding isn't Dairy Queen back when I was a kid. Now it's DQ Grill and Chill because they wanted to bring the other grill part. So I just think it should be, makes the most sense. Alderwoman Day.
Just for clarification, if we were to go with changing your amendment to allow this particular property to have 4 rather than the combining, is that amendment specific just to this site, or would this be for any other development within that,
Specific to the site.
specific to this site? So if anybody else, so everyone else would still be 3 and they would have to ask for, okay,
Correct. They would have to also
Yeah.
apply for a master sign program
I can
amendment.
support that.
And just to add one more thing on it is we technically, each end tenant can have up to 3 signs and the middle tenant can have 2 signs as per the master sign amendment program. We're not asking for 3 signs for Taco Pros. So we're still under the limit technically for 8 sign. And we, even if you consider the total number of sign, we're still at the 8.
Okay, so if we could have an amended motion
Mhm.
to allow.
I'll amend the draft resolution.
Well, we could probably get it done tonight.
Yeah.
So if you would like to read the suggested motion.
Do you think we need to add specificity to that? Because I left it.
It is according to this draft.
Ye-
That's what we will be recommending.
No, it's different to that now. Sorry, you don't have the right.
Look, if you have a suggested motion to read, we can simply add in that one part
Yeah.
about the signage.
So,
done.
yeah.
A motion to approve a resolution approving an amendment to the master sign program for the Shoppers at Windhead Village Commercial Retail Center to allow for signage up on building number 6, 7730 South Lovers Lane Road, and
With the addition of 4 signs for the western tenant.
Mr. City Attorney, you have to hit his button.
There you go.
Upon the facts of the property and uses involved.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Dr.
Thank you.
Pros.
Tacos.
All right, number 3, Department of City Development, Year Report 2024. Mr. Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor. The department staff presented a report, an annual report for 2023. We presented that in February. So this is an update, kind of for mid-year. So this update is structured in 3 parts. First, review of development applications, then zoning enforcement and department goals. That is typically long-range planning. So the report is mostly like quantities of applications. It doesn't go into the details of any of the applications. So it's just general numbers. So when we presented the update in February, the total of pending applications for last year was 22 applications. Staff work, review some applications, presented to Plan Commission, get approved, get completed, and now we have pending 13 applications. That was when we prepared this report in July. Then for the application that were received in the first half of this year, the department received a total of 116 applications, and 83 of them has been reviewed and completed as of July, when this report was prepared. In total, right in July, there was a total of 46 pending applications. Now going to zoning enforcement. When we prepared the last update, there were a total of 17 complaints that were open. That complaints received in 2023. We work and close 10 of these complaints since the last update. With regards to the comments from Ms. Gint, I'd like to. Okay. As you can see in the table in page 3, the department received a total of 105 noise complaints, PDD 37, and closed one, mostly all of them except for one. That complaint that remains open, and we sent a notice of violation to the operator, is for lack of data, of sound data. That was not for a single day, was for kind of several dates, but we typically, when we have a violation, we typically merge multiple complaints into one for better administration. So that's why it only appears to one complaint as notice sent for noise complaints. For complaints received this year, the department received a total of 33 complaints, review and closed 7 complaints. We have been referred complaints to other departments, 15 of them, and 11 complaints remain open. In total, there are 35 complaints open, I mean, this year and previous years. So we have been working kind of to reduce the number of open complaints. For department goals, long-range planning, you can see a list in page 4 with the goals that were kind of planned when we presented the report back in February. And we have accomplished 3 of these goals. The amendment to the UDO to comply with ARLUPA, the federal law, the preparation of the housing affordability report, and the fee schedule that was adopted this month by the Common Council. There are other goals that remain in progress. Highlights of them is the UDO rewrite that have been presented. We have been working with the Plan Commission in workshops, and we anticipate hopefully to get the project completed by the end of this year or early next year. And there is another goal that is actually the next item on the agenda that is about the comprehensive master plan. New goals that were not in the previous report, and to adopt a traditional neighborhood development. That's another item in the agenda. And the update of the city's floodplain zoning ordinance.
Was adopted on Tuesday, so.
Okay. I'm happy to answer any questions about the report.
Any questions?
It's just a comment.
Alderwoman Day.
Just a comment. Thank you for preparing this. I know it's probably a lot of work to track all of this and bring it forward, but it's really helpful for us to kind of see, the scope of the work that you have and that you've accomplished, and then just kind of where you are with all of your projects. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any further action on this? Receive and place on file, anything like that? Nothing else, or we go on to the next?
No, just a motion to accept and place on file.
Yes, right. Motion to receive and
So
place on
moved.
file?
Second.
First and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. We're going to number 4, options to update city's comprehensive plan. Regular.
Thank you. Since we are in the budget season, staff is kind of requesting input from the Plan Commission on the update of the comprehensive master plan. According to Wisconsin statutes, it should be updated every 10 years. So the plan was adopted in 2009, so we are overdue on the update of the comprehensive plan. The capital improvement program for 2024 to 2028 has funds for the update of the comprehensive master plan and also the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan for a total of $80,000. City have received 2 proposals, and these proposals at about that amount, but only for the comprehensive master plan. So that amount, the 80,000 for both the comp plan and the CURB, it's likely insufficient in a staff opinion. So this memorandum outlines kind of different options to update the comprehensive plan because even though Wisconsin statute said that 10-year period, it doesn't define what is an update. So there are different options to update the comprehensive plan. For example, the Regional Planning Commission, SEWRPAC, they offered 4 different options from just review and reaffirm the existing plan or to a full update of the plan. Also, the Center for Land Use Education has a broad options for update some parts of the plan or to create an entire new plan. So what staff is recommending for consideration of the Plan Commission is kind of an incremental approach. So the first step will be an update by in-house urban planners in the planning department, specifically for the at least the demographic data, because the plan was prepared in 2009 using census data from 2000. Now we have 2010 and 2020 census data, as well as new population projections by the Department of Administration. So we have the data, so it will be for staff to do that update of demographic data at least. And we can do that in-house without going to the process to hire a consultant. And the second step is to go and hire a consultant, depending on the budget, but at least we'll get the plan updated sooner rather than later. So
we
that's
do
Regular?
Oh,
8:39, Mayor Nelson has left the meeting. Alderwoman Day will take over as chair.
okay. So yeah, that's the presentation, and kind of open to questions or answer any additional input or direction from the Plan Commission.
Are you looking for a particular motion or direction from us this evening, or are you bringing this?
Right, because
council?
staff is recommending these two, well, it's like a two-step process that staff is recommending. So if we get the kind of green light from the Plan Commission, then staff will start working on an in-house update of the demographic data. And for later, I mean, that will go to Common Council and the budget process for the full rewrite or the future land use plan update, depending on the budget that Common Council will review and approve.
Any further comments or questions?
You need a recommendation is from,
Looking for,
yeah. And I think just to clarify, the chair and Alderwoman Day will have to vote on this because we need 4 votes affirmative, right? Mr. City Attorney? Or does it matter on this item? He
There are
needs his
4
mic on.
members present.
But now Alderwoman Day is the chair,
Yes,
so she'll have to vote. Chair will vote.
yes, to
Okay.
affect the result.
But we need 4 votes.
That's
Okay. Thank you, City Attorney. I don't really know what the recommendation is. I'm going to leave that to another member of the commission.
Mr. Haley?
The staff report recommends an incremental planning approach with the benefit of updating the plan sooner to achieve compliance. I think that's a good approach. And then council can work on budgeting additional funds for this year, next year, and move on to that second step. But getting things updated first, I think, is a start.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
The first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Okay.
So 4 ayes.
I voted aye.
4 ayes, no noes. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Moving on to item E5, introduction to traditional neighborhood department or development.
Development, yes. Thank you. The traditional neighborhood development, that is a type of development that is kind of compact, mixed use with civic buildings or commercial buildings within a walking distance from residences. And we can see a local example in the village of Greendale. So why it is required to adopt a traditional neighborhood development ordinance? Because it's required by state statutes. And the University of Wisconsin has created a model ordinance. The UDO, our current UDO, refers to the model ordinance. However, the model ordinance states in introduction that that guide or model shall not be adopted as is. It should be adapted to the community. There are in the ordinance some text in brackets that is to be filled by the community, like what is the minimum area that will apply to this ordinance. Okay, so that is still outstanding. So that's why the staff recommends to start the process to kind of adapt the model traditional neighborhood ordinance to the city of Franklin, kind of fill in the blanks in the model ordinance. In the memorandum, there are a section that is consistency with the comprehensive plan, where staff identify all the policies of the comprehensive plan that will be consistent with the traditional neighborhood development. Even though the rewrite of the UDO is in progress, the rewrite also refers to the model ordinance, so this adoption of this TND ordinance is still required even if the UDO rewrite gets approved. What staff have in mind for traditional neighborhood development is to allow for this different type of development, is not to impose that. So if a developer see that it could benefit from that model, then they will apply for a PDD, will go to Plan Commission, to Common Council and get that approved. It's not that we will impose this is the only type of development that you can do. No, the UDO will be in place, and this is kind of an option to allow a different type of development. In the memo, it also outlines the proposed adoption process and work. So we present this introduction to the Plan Commission and the Common Council for policy direction if we can start this process, and then the staff will work on preparing the draft traditional neighborhood development ordinance. It is anticipated to be like an in-house project, so no budget is anticipated other than staff hours or city attorney review for legal review. The questions for policy direction tonight, if possible, what type of ordinance mapping. So the model doesn't, it's not required to be mapped. So what that means is there are three options. One is the floating zoning. So that means that this ordinance will only apply to parcels that meet certain requirements, like, for example, a minimum area that is to be defined in the ordinance, or a designation of land use in the comprehensive master plan, like commercial or mixed use. The benefit of this is that we don't need to map it, and we don't need to update if the comprehensive master plan change, for example. That's the recommendation of staff, the floating zoning. The other two are the base zoning that will be actually mapping what is the area for traditional neighborhood development. Staff doesn't recommend that option because it may create nonconformities in areas where it's already developed. And the other option is the overlay zoning, where the base zoning is retained, but we create an overlay of traditional neighborhood development. We also don't recommend that option because it may be to be adjusted if the comprehensive master plan is updated, and we know that the comprehensive master plan is overdue, the update. So that's the presentation. So kind of we're looking on direction on the Plan Commission, kind of green light to start to work on this, on adapting the model ordinance to the city of Franklin, and if possible, if we can receive direction on the mapping of the ordinance.
Commissioner Leon?
So I have some questions. And they start with, why do we have to do this? I know you cited state, but I'm concerned about scope creep, that basically initially this starts out as guidelines and then progressively becomes more. So honestly, I don't like any of the options on this. The floating, the base zoning, and the overlay. And as it stands now, I would vote against moving forward with this.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's something that would want to be tabled until we can have a full plan commission available. I mean, obviously we can have a vote. There's 4 members, so you could have a decision. But I don't like it. To me, this seems more intrusive than it needs to be, or could become that.
Just to answer your question, it's a requirement by Wisconsin statutes. that any communities with a population over 12,000 is required to adopt.
And is this- how long has the
traditional
statute
neighborhood development
been
ordinance.
in place?
I don't have the date, but it's like early 2000s, I think.
So we've been operating for 20 years,
Years, I think.
more than 10 years of that. I'll defer a little bit to the city attorney on here. My concerns are just where this could go, and his microphone would need to be turned on.
My defense would be that the village of St. Martin.
I guess it doesn't require to go down the path of developing a traditional neighborhood. And then, do we want to pause to recognize?
8:49 PM, mayor returns.
But I don't like it. But I'm just one vote. Again, the biggest thing is, why do we have to do this if we haven't done it for over 10 years, maybe closer to 20? And I'm concerned about how it could creep in scope and be more restrictive on how we do our planning.
Right. And just to address your comment, the intent is not to impose this type of development, is to allow if a developer chose that development partner.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of these types of changes that start with allow for and then become required later. So just personally, I don't like it and wouldn't support it at this point.
Mr. Haley.
Well, from the report, staff is looking for some direction, and ultimately it needs to come from the council. But I think we can make a recommendation to the council on how to proceed. I don't think we can just ignore it. And personally, the floating zoning seems to maybe fit our world better. So what we're really looking to do is help give them direction to start coming up with the draft that ultimately the council would adopt, I suspect.
Correct, to start to work on it, yeah.
So, given that, I would make a motion to recommend to the council that staff proceed working on draft language for floating zoning.
Second?
We have a first and a second.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Leon,
No.
Alderman Day,
Aye.
Commissioner Haley,
Aye.
Commissioner Shago,
Aye.
3 ayes.
Aye.
Sorry?
Mayor votes
Aye.
aye.
Okay.
4-1, motion carries.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
First and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Take roll call.
Roll call votes tonight.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yes, well done.
I missed
Yeah.
the answer. Do you want
This
us
is
to
a
retain the
Mayberry
community of Crocus
RFP.
stuff?